Welcome to the EdTech Talk Series. I'm Maura, your host, and during this series, I'm going to be speaking with different education experts and influencers who are navigating this very complex and expansive industry. And now we're joined by Cameron. He is the COO of Youtopia, and by COO, we mean Chief Opportunity Officer. Thanks so much, Cameron, for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
For joining us. So quickly, let's tell everybody, what is Youtopia? What's your mission? What's your vision? Tell us who you are.
Yeah, so Youtopia started off as a way to measure everyone's good deeds in the world. So that was the initial idea. We thought it'd be really cool if we could measure something like that, kind of a really impactful mission. And we thought we'd start on that mission with school kids, either high schoolers or middle schoolers, and turned into a tracking app for tracking things like service hours. So schools can use it to engage their students and get them to do things that may or may not be graded, but are still very important.
Okay, great. Innovative.
Yeah. So it's kind of we're making measuring things like that fun. So that's the basis of our company. Is we use gamification to make tracking things into a game, so it's a little bit more fun for the kids and the adults to do.
And what have you learned about the education system through this? I mean, I know when I was in school, both in high school, even middle school and college, gamification wasn't a word. So what have you learned about the education system?
Yeah, so obviously the system is hard to change. So that's probably the number one thing that we learned, is that it's hard to change. But also something that's been interesting is that I think if something's hard to measure, if it's hard to give a grade for it, the existing school system has just decided that it's not important or not to do it. And so they've shied away from the hard problems in favor of the easy problems. So if you can give somebody information and then you can give them a test, a standardized test on that information, that's easy for the school to do, and they stick with things that are easy. Things that are hard, like project-based learning, which is something that's starting to catch on.
PBLs?
Yeah, that's PBL. Yeah, that's harder to measure, but it's more impactful because you're measuring perhaps a lot of different things at once. So instead of getting an A in a subject, you're actually learning about life, which for me personally, I think is a lot more intelligent, or a lot more important. So you have emotional intelligence, and then you have EQ and then versus IQ. I think that they're both important, and probably EQ is a little bit better, more important for your career. It's dealing with people is the big thing that I think a lot of employers are looking for, more people that can deal with people, and they're not finding that right now. So something has to change with our system, because it's not working as well as we need.
Not measuring necessarily effectively, perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely.
More in the modern age. And I think there has been a trend in colleges, particularly higher education institutions, taking a more holistic approach at looking at candidates. I've even heard of things like video applications are becoming a trend and a new thing. How do you see what you're doing at Youtopia affecting the college admissions process over the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, so I think there's two things that I really see happening. One is that colleges are going to have a lot of competition. Right now, colleges are in general, I'm seeing a lot of people that are disappointed in the recent graduates that they have to choose from to hire. They're just not getting what they need, and you have people that go through college and they can't find a job. Like, that's not a good situation. So I think colleges are going to be under pressure to get better in that arena. So produce better candidates for jobs, produce more well-rounded individuals. So I definitely see that as a trend. Something that I also have seen as a trend in recruiting and admissions is that people are more, they want to see things besides grades and test scores, but it's still very, I would say, it's not very standardized. That's the wrong word, but it's just not very clear who has done what besides grades and test scores. So those still have like the primary emphasis on admissions. Like schools want to brag that they only took people with a 3.8 or higher GPA, or everyone that goes to our school has a 30 on their ACT. I mean, that's what colleges like to brag about. But I think in the future, they're really going to focus in on people that are a little bit more well-rounded, that have ambitions to be leaders, that work well in teams, that have good interpersonal communication skills, networking skills. Those are going to be a lot more important when a lot of the technical and the details can be worked out by computers and robots, eventually. So the difference between us and a robot is our ability to think, and we need to really develop that muscle in college. And I think colleges that do that well will succeed, and I think the rest will go out of business.
Interesting. I like to hear your perspective.
And it's a prediction. Write them all down.
Oh, this is being recorded. I've got it forever. Now, so we both work for technology companies, working in the EdTech, if you will, space. So I'd like to wrap this up with two questions. One is, what should other education technology startups or businesses know about working in the education space? Don't worry, don't hold back. I mean, this is truly intended to help people. So let us know what you think.
But maybe not.
Beep beep.
Yeah. What was the other one? So first, my advice.
Mm-hmm. So your advice for startups.
Yes.
And then I'm interested to know about your advice to admissions counselors or those working at higher education. Let's focus on colleges. Those working in higher education institutions. What should they know about being open to or adopting technologies such as yours that really kind of show character in students as opposed to just the numerical quantifiers behind them?
Yeah, so I'll start with that one first, and then I'll go back to running a startup in EdTech. But what I think that I'm seeing with the colleges and really the innovators in the space, which aren't always colleges, it could be a boot camp that you learn how to code, or there's a lot of this competition out there. I'm not sure if this is a term, but I call that informal learning. So it's not a real like accredited school, but it's still real learning is taking place. So that's kind of like informal. And when I think of formal learning, I think of like going to college and you have formalized classes like every Wednesday and Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or something like that. So I think informal learning is really taking off, and the quality of it is getting better. So I would think about, if I was an admissions person from college, I'd be thinking about what type of students that I want to attract to my school, and how I'm going to attract them, how I'm going to be different from all these other options out there. So really differentiating what it's like to be at that college. And I think it comes down to culture of the college. So you really want people that kind of believe what you believe, and they come to school and they are kind of developing their skills, but interpersonal skills, versus just like collecting a bunch of knowledge. You can collect a bunch of knowledge from this thing. Like, I have all the knowledge I already could dream of getting. Right. I just Google it. So why do I need to go to a college? The schools that are going to be around in 10 or 15 or 20 years are going to be the ones that really understand why being in person with a bunch of like-minded individuals, and also people that they've don't know a lot about, a very diverse student body is important as well. But how does getting all those people together in a close area, how does that change the world versus, you know, going online and learning all the data that you need, online? So I think that answers the question a little bit.
I think you definitely hit some really good points there.
And then, so in terms of like EdTech, um, for someone that's starting in the EdTech arena, it's usually one of two type of people. The first type of person is a teacher or an administrator or someone in the education area that sees that it's not going well and they want to use technology to help solve a problem. And those usually don't do that well because the technology is lacking and the integration, and it just doesn't really end up like working.
Do they need that entrepreneurial technologist counterpart?
Yeah, just missing. Yeah, they're just missing. They're missing kind of what it takes to technically put all the details together. I've also seen a lot of technology people that have failed in the edtech space because they're not really solving an actual problem. They're like building some cool technology, and then they go to try to sell it, and schools are like, "We don't
need this.
This is not what we wanted." So in edtech, it's really crucial to have someone from each of those camps on your team, hopefully as co-founders, but at least have someone that has background in technology and background in education. Because if you don't have a good mix of it, this is one of those industries where it's really tough to be successful in if you don't have those two pieces. And then the second most important thing, I think, is really keeping your focus small. Education is huge, and there's a really, really, really big opportunity out there. It's $1 trillion industry in terms of how much money they spend every year on education. It's massive. Companies spend another $1 trillion on educating their employees. So overall, education in this world is a big, big, big industry. But not being able to find your place within there to at least start up is can be very difficult. So finding a niche, finding a market that's small enough where you can actually have an effect on quickly, I think is probably the first step that I would choose to do over if I was starting a company today. So we found a nice niche now, but before we were like, hey, we're in $1 trillion industry, like we could do anything and it's going to be great. But those $1 trillion don't just find you. They need to have a specific focus. And if you're not solving the school's number one or number two problem, you're not going to get the contract because they're spending money on standardized tests. They're spending money on teacher salaries. They're spending money on tablets, and they're not spending money on software for the tablets. It's just a fact. So those are some challenges that are out there. But I think finding a great niche and knowing your market and solving a great problem, I think those two things, you're on your way.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Cam. This has been awesome. We appreciate it. And then where can people find out more about you? We'll definitely have your website and your email address accompanying this video, but is it youtopia.com?
It's youtopia.com, and you can send me any question you'd like. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, whatever you feel like. We're here.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.